Most of you in this room or on this stream will probably have heard of Katie, which is one of the reasons you've shown up. Katie is a Mancunian, mastering engineer, Manchester. Based in Brighton now, whose credits include Emeli, Sandé, Arlo Parks, We Are Scientists, Nadine Shah, Ash, Seo Bodega, and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, just to round that off in a completely different direction. Equally comfortable dealing with artists' first ever release, as she is with Season Pro's greatest hits. Katie's ability to bring out the best in a mix comes from her years of experience in studios, combined with her open communication with artists, engineers, and labels. That's not a word. Labels. So essentially, Katie is a badass. We're very lucky to have her here tonight, and thus endeth the embarrassing for now. So basically the way this is going to work tonight is I have some questions that I have divined, partly based on our previous conversations, of which there have been many. And I'm conscious that as a producer and a music maker, I've learned a tremendous amount from just being in Katie's orbit, just being in her Mancunian presence. Yes, that's right. That's pretty much my job, is just rotating around Katie. And so I became aware that there were certain things that a lot of people didn't really understand about mastering, just at a basic level. And then we will start at basic and we will move to less basic as we go along. So I will chat through my questions with you, then we will open it up to the floor and to the stream as well. And I expect and hope that JB, our wonderful CEO at Hackspace, will be at some point pinging me over questions from the stream with this fabulous piece of sophisticated technology that we're very familiar with. So, hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Got some water, you're all comfortable now. Okay, so Katie, can you summarise? Oh, actually, this might be fun to ask everybody else first. Okay, I'm just going to pick on the room. Can you summarise in a sentence what you think mastering is? Does anyone want to volunteer information before I get Katie to give her short definition?
It's not going to be a short definition.
Oh God! Yeah. Can anyone, or at least like words that you associate with mastering, maybe? Any ideas? Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's probably the last stage of music production.
Cool.
It's making sure that it can translate the best as it can to across all platforms when someone is mastering a track.
Okay.
And it usually has to do with the final stereo stem of like the final stereo mix, unless it's a stem mastering thing where you have more tracks available, but it's not.
This is a really good answer.
Sorry, I'll stop that.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's the last stage with caveats. Any other thoughts? Yeah?
Adding the magic to the mix.
Adding the magic.
I'm a wizard.
Yeah, we suspected. It's the fastest.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any last offerings? Loudness. Cool. Okay, what do you think of?
Yeah, good answers.
Yeah?
Good answers. Well, I think, and I feel like this, other mastering engineers will probably answer this question differently as well. It's an art, so everyone kind of approaches art from a different point of view, I guess. But for me, mastering is kind of three things. First thing is a quality check. And you would not believe how many people send me mixes with like a little bit cut off the start or a little bit cut off the end, or sometimes it's just, they've soloed the guitar part or whatever and exported that, because that happens.
Left something on a bus.
Yeah, that happens when you're in a rush and you're working to deadlines, and things can get missed. So it's making sure that the audio is all there, intact. There's nothing there that shouldn't be there, like a little bit of chattering on the vocal mic. We've talked about that
a bit.
And also making sure that the mix functions as it should. So a lot of my kind of job is working very closely with mix engineers or producers and just, you know, sort of having a really open conversation about like how the mix is functioning and not see people ask for feedback on mixes a lot, and mastering engineers don't really give like
Are you sure?
creative. Well, I'll give you creative feedback because you asked me,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
and we know each other in real life.
That's true.
But it's not really a mastering engineer's place to go, oh, I think your vocal needs more reverb. But it might be a mastering engineer's place to say, I feel like the bass could come up a little bit, or, you know, your mix is clipping. Can we take a look
Can
at
we
that?
not?
Yeah. So that's the first bit, is a quality check. Second part is the bit that everyone sees, which I feel like is maybe the least important bit of mastering, and that's the actual audio processing part. So where we make things louder, we might use some EQ, and that's kind of where the sort of creative decisions happen, because mastering is creative.
You'll
And
have
then
no
the third
disagreement from me. I've now seen enough of it to agree with that.
Because I sit in my studio going, and having a really nice time. I get so excited. It's funny as well because I try and like pretend it's all cool and stuff, but it's not.
None of us are
really
cool,
excited.
really.
No.
All of us professional music makers. We're all just massive clowns who get to play and call it work.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then the third part is creating formats for distribution. So making vinyl sides, creating MP3s, making sure that everything is really well labelled, creating DDP files which contain all metadata for CD production, and just making sure that the artist or the producer or whoever will be receiving the files has everything dead clearly labelled, and so that they're not gonna be like, oh, you've missed something, or I can't find the instrumentals. They need to just be able to go into the folder and see exactly where everything is. So it's quite heavy on the organisation side of it, and that's quite a big part of it as well. Like, I'd say that if I was working on an album, I'd probably spend a day doing the quality check and the audio processing, and then another half day just making formats for that album. So you know, the last bit does take quite a while, and it's the most overlooked as well, but it's going to be the most useful for an artist. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like essentially you've got the quality check, and then you've got the auditory process, and then you've got the organisation.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any within those processes? Are there any particular milestones that you can break down within? So like particularly perhaps with the audio processing, like what does that look like?
Well, for me, I'm so sorry, but I start each project as if I've never mastered anything before, and I really say to myself, like, I listen to the music, and if I'm gonna do any processing, there has to be a really good reason for it, because people send you mixes and they're really happy with those mixes. No one wants, you know, a mastering engineer to come in and completely change the sound of everything. So like little EQ choices, there has to be a really, really good reason why I'm making that choice. So yeah, I kind of treat every project completely differently. Am I going to use any analog equipment? Am I going to do it all in the box? It purely depends on like the specific project, or even the specific song within the project.
So you just said analog equipment. When you say in the box, you mean using software?
Yes.
Right. Cool. Just wanted to clear that up in case people hadn't come across that process.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's fine. Okay, so just out of interest, what is your favourite piece of software and your favourite piece of analog?
Well, I use Wavelab for mastering. It's like a audio workstation, and it's
very pretty to look at.
Yeah,
the door
you can
is
customize
delightful.
it. So
Yeah.
you've got to have a.
Oh,
that
there
one's
it is.
No, that's a demo one. That's not a rainbow.
Disappointing.
It's now a rainbow anyway. But yeah, I really like Wavelab because it's kind of, you know, very mastering specific. And it has loads of cool metering stuff. So you can sort of, you know, you don't have to download external plugins to look at things like a Phasescope, I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, I've used Wavelab since about 2003, I think, because I got a free copy when I bought Cubase. And I really liked it. So it's been about, I think the last time I used Pro Tools was about 2018.
Yeah.
So even if I wanted to use a different workstation, I don't think I could.
Okay.
I do have Logic as well, but as you know,
I do.
I struggle.
She's better than she makes out, honestly. Yeah, okay, cool. So you don't use Cubase anymore,
I don't use Cubase.
But you definitely use Wavelab. Okay, amazing. So just out of interest, because I've heard a lot of people, I say a lot of people, I've heard some people say over time that they don't really know why they need mastering. So what kind of an impact does mastering have on your release? Like, what's the outcome?
I think the most, like, sound aside, most
put it aside. We'll come back to it.
Sound can sit over there
Okay.
for now. There's sort of the main benefit, especially if you have an album to release, is all of the formats. So I don't know if you've ever tried making a DDP file.
Not personally, no.
It's dead easy,
Anybody
but
else?
you need the right software to do it.
Okay.
And so I have that software
What
and I
does-
can knock one up.
What does DDP stand for?
I've no idea.
Okay. Everyone can Google that on the stream and tell us.
I'll be Googling it later.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I make them every day.
Brilliant.
I never questioned it.
Till I came along.
Yep.
Sorry, just very disruptive.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna Google that later. I should probably learn some things, shouldn't I?
We know that every single interview you do afterwards,
Everyone's
gonna
gonna
ask.
ask,
Yeah. To
Did
see if you've done it yet.
Google it. Well, I'm self-taught at mastering as well.
Yes.
So, you know, there are, like, I feel like I'm a vibes engineer. Like, I really like I'm not techie at all. Like, I know enough to get by tech-wise, but, like, I'm all about, like, how the music sounds. I've come from a sort of performance background, so for me it's more, how does it sound, how does it feel, how does it make other people feel, that kind of sitch. But yeah, I feel like the sort of file organisation and creating the formats is the thing that's going to be immediately the most useful to artists. So when they want to go and get the vinyl cut, they've got the vinyl sides made up. When they want to get the CDs made up, they've got the DDP. They've got MP3s to attach for emails, for radio. They've got all the instrumental tracks mastered and they're clearly labelled. They've got their digital masters ready to go, and it's that kind of like everything's in one place, everything's nicely labelled, everything's organised.
To be honest, releasing music, that is incredibly helpful, because especially if you have a small team or a self-releasing artist, knowing exactly where everything is and what everything does is incredible time saver. So so that's the organisational aspect. What about this in terms of like the impact that mastering has on a release in terms of the sound?
That's a really good question. I'm feeling my voice going.
Water.
I'll take someone else.
Okay.
Before I lose my train of thought. So sometimes an album can be mixed by many different mix engineers, and mastering can just sort of bring them all in line, make everything sound consistent, and also sort of when you're mastering music for an artist, you're thinking like, how is this music supposed to sound? What is the artist's intention? And you're just trying to get that like extra bit of goodness from it. So for example, you sent me a dance banger earlier.
I did. Dance banger.
And I really dance bangified it. Just so that, you know, if you sent that to a radio station, it wouldn't sound too different from other dance bangers. And so you have to sort of really keep in mind the style of the music and what the artist is intending, and sometimes you can do some little corrective EQ just to make sure that nothing is, I don't know, for me it's quite like a physical reaction if I hear something, for like, if there's too much of anything. Told you, vibes engineer.
Yeah, all vibes.
But
it's the technical neurodiverse word is all the vibes. Yeah.
It's like sometimes like certain frequencies, if there's too much, make me feel a bit sick or make me feel anxious and stuff like that. So just kind of going through things to make sure that the artist is really pleased with what they're releasing. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is, like, the artist just has to be happy with what they're releasing.
So what I'm hearing really is it's to do with sonic cohesion in terms of both where the track sits within the broader genre that they're kind of putting the track into, but also in terms of their own body of work. And then also, I think it's really interesting that you're kind of operating from almost an instinctive level as well as a technical level. So, okay, thanks. Which leads me to some platforms, i.e. Either particular kind of streaming platforms like SoundCloud or other kind of businesses are offering computer-generated mastering as a part of their service or subscription, rather than hiring an engineer. Now, beyond obviously the thing of I would like to have more work, please, or consistent work, please, why do you think it's important to have an engineer involved at this stage of producing the music, rather than using a computer-generated service? One of the benefits, really.
I think AI mastering has its place, but it's not mastering because it's missing two of the three main stages of mastering. So I feel like it's called mastering, but it's not mastering. What it is audio processing.
Right. And
AI is cool. It's really interesting. And if you're making a demo and you want to, you're not really comfortable, especially if you're a really new artist, and you're producing your own music, and you just want it to sort of come back that little bit louder and a little bit, I don't know, enhanced, whatever that means, then AI mastering totally has its place. But when it comes to releasing music that you've spent like maybe years on, you're gonna want to sort of, you're gonna want that extra set of ears, just as like confirmation that what you're putting out there is the best it can be. Because you don't want to upload your music to, Spotify or whatever and then go, oh no, I chose the wrong file. Maybe you've got them all labelled final mix.
It's like,
Whereas when you send files to a mastering engineer, sometimes you might go, oh, okay, I've actually updated the mix, can you use this one instead? We're going to label which mix you want to use and send you, when we do our sort of final masters, we're going to send you the correct version.
Yeah.
So, because it's really stressful releasing music. I know that. It's like, it's horrible. You've got so many different things to think about.
We're really selling it, aren't we?
But like,
welcome to this industry.
It's chaotic and you've got like so many different things to think about. You don't want to be worrying about, the end of my track is now on Spotify and it's got talking on, or I muted the bass by accident and now I have to wait for, that kind of thing. So that's the reason why you'd want to work with a human. That didn't explain it very well.
No, it did. I'm with you.
Cool.
Okay, so going back to earlier, you talked about the fact that you had a classical background. So how did you get from that to mastering? What was that process?
It's a long journey.
I know.
It's a really long journey. So I always knew I wanted to work behind the scenes in music, but no one in my family is musical, and well, I'm from Manchester, so like it's not London. You can't just go and intern at a studio. I mean, you know, there was one studio in Stockport in the early 2000s.
Oh wow, yeah.
And you know, that was fine, but there was like, I don't know, maybe 200 music tech students who all wanted to help out there. It's not really doable. So I kind of knew that I wanted to do something, but I just had no idea how to actually get into it. I never thought it could be a real job. So I did a terrible job doing my A-levels. Good job we don't need those now.
Okay.
So they were a bit failed. And so I went to uni, really luckily, to do music. And but I played violin since I was like 5 or something, because in school, like you could, like in primary school, you could borrow an instrument and learn it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still a thing anymore.
I don't know.
It was great though. Like you could have a go.
Yeah, we've got some nods in the room. Yeah.
But I kind of just used that as a sort of, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And uni was cheap when I went as well. I mean,
not
it's
anymore.
Yeah. So I kind of went to uni and did just a general classical music degree, just to sort of put off being a real life person. Yeah. And there was a really small recording studies module. Big up Salford Uni because it was ace, and it was. They basically went, "There's a studio, go and make something."
Wow.
That's it. And so it really encouraged you to like play and experiment, and they were so like supportive of being creative, and I don't know that there's any other like course like that or people like that. So that was really cool. I didn't know what mastering was then. But I just spent all my time in the studios, and one of the tutors came up to me one day and he was like, "Someone's asked me to work in a studio, but I can't do it because obviously I teach here. Do you want to do it? Do you want an introduction?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool, okay."
To a job?
Yeah.
This was straight, wow, okay, cool.
So this was before I had like graduated. I think it was about halfway through my 3rd year. And I thought I'd just be making a bit of tea and just, you know, that'd last a month or something, and then I'd graduate uni and get an office job. But it was a really cool job, and I was working for just an incredible musician called John Ellis, who's probably the most creative person I've ever met, and a producer called Bill Leader, who was 80 when I started working there, and so he'd basically like seen all of the things. Yes. And so he just had so much knowledge, and he really taught me how to listen and just sort of be calm and think, because I was like 21 or whatever. I was really excited by everything, but he was really like, "No,
not much has changed, Katie. I'm sorry to break that to you."
Well, I listen more now than I did then. But yeah, it was amazing getting to learn from him and, you know, do that. And then I sort of started getting more freelance work. And what did I do? I went to America for a little bit to teach in a uni.
Okay.
That was an interesting section. And then when I got back, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it was about 11 p.m. at night, and I just checked my Facebook messages, and this guy had just slid into my DMs. And we had not like that.
Okay, interesting twist.
No, he's one of my best friends. So we didn't know each other at the time, but we had loads of mutual friends, and he was like, "Do you do mastering?" I said, "No, but I can recommend some people. It's like, you know, 11 o'clock at night, I'll send you a list in the morning," or whatever. And he's like, "Okay, I've got something that needs mastering right now. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Well, no, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't have the stuff. I don't have the stuff. I don't have the practice really. Like I practice a little bit of mastering. But I was just basically like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was like, I'm really desperate. So I said, well, okay, this will be fun. This will be an experiment.
Okay.
If it's terrible, please don't use it. That's all I ask, because it's going to look bad on both of us and the band. And I really don't want a band sort of releasing something that's not the best it can be. Anyway, we worked all through the night, bouncing files back and forth. And we worked really well together. And in the morning, he was like, band have approved this. Can we go for it? I was like, oh no, this is scary, but sure. And then a couple of weeks later, he asked me to master an album. And I didn't know what vinyl sides were, or like a DDP, or all of the formats, or metadata, or ISRCs, all of that like thing. I just thought mastering was checking the file and making it louder. So yeah, we mastered this album. It was sort of quite big on the punk scene. Loads of punk bands asked me to master their albums, and
snowballed from there.
that happened.
Oh wow! Fast forward.
No, that was like 7 years before that happened. Yeah, just like little by little, lots of learning. In the meantime, lots of practicing, lots of like reading, listening, practicing listening. That important. Learning. This is gonna sound really weird. Learning how to be freelance. So
Big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone talks about getting jobs in the music industries.
Yeah.
But you don't get a job in the music industry, you make your own job.
Yeah.
Like I think
And you
something
convince
like,
people to hire you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like something like 80% of people are freelance, but no one mentions that you have to basically make your own job.
This is something we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we end up discussing this issue with like younger people coming into the industry is, congratulations, you've just started a small business. And no one has said that to them, but we say to them all the time.
Yeah. I mean, someone needs to. I really want to see people do well and not go, oh, this is scary, I can't find a job, see you later.
Yeah, no one wants that.
No.
Okay, so then this.
Yes.
So you're full-time now,
I am.
but you did mastering alongside a second job
I did.
for a long time.
I did.
How long?
From about 2013 till 2020.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
that
a
was
long time.
7 years, yeah.
So my first job, when I started mastering, I then kind of got a marketing job.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. Like, that's super creative. I would totally do that again. I mean, I wouldn't really want to.
Because you enjoy
quite
your
like
job now.
mastering.
Yeah.
But,
fair.
you know, like, if I had to do another job again, that was creative. It was cool.
Yes.
And then I went to work at the British Library in the National Sound Archive as a transfer engineer, which was really, really cool.
Nice.
Would do that again as well. I finally patted the British Library cat the other day. Like, was this it was an emotional moment. Yeah, because
Okay.
when I worked there was, everyone was like, oh, there's the British Library cat, I've just said hi to it. And I never ever saw this cat.
Oh.
And then I was travelling through London the other day and I finally saw this cat and gave it a pat.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's okay.
It was a big milestone.
It's not quite the milestone I expected us to hit today, but okay.
So I worked at the British Library for about a year doing that, and then their project Unlocking Our Sound Heritage, which is awesome. It's a countrywide project which is kind of wrapping up now, but they opened digitisation hubs all around the UK. So I went to work at the Brighton one because, as we've discovered today, I can't do London. So yeah, I went to Brighton and did that for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the middle of the pandemic, I got really, really busy.
You did, because
And,
everyone was stuck at home making records, pretty much. Yeah, which is excellent. I mean, not the pandemic part, but you know, the kind of the silver lining for you. Before we move on, I'm going to suggest you've brought some audio samples today
I have.
to show a little bit of what you've just been describing to us.
Yes, it's a really fascinating artist. I think you might have heard of her.
Oh God, yeah. I'm the one that she was able to get the permissions from fast enough, basically.
We
John,
only
would you mind
decided on this
to-
yesterday.
We're very organised. But no, Katie has used some of my work as an example for previous workshops, some of which I've actually been able to attend and be highly embarrassed by. So basically, this is her getting her own back on the fact that I get to host her and talk about her and make her be a little, and now I get to be the one who wants to hide a little bit.
Yes. So, we need to turn that mic down when we press play, and then turn it up afterwards. So, what do you want to hear?
Okay, so what do
you
I want to hear?
Your remix.
Yes, because probably that's the
You've
one.
not heard that.
Oh, I haven't, no. So, okay, just a bit of information. So, so the band Foals, they do remix competitions quite regularly, and I say regularly.
We love Foals.
There have been lately. We do love Foals, and so they pop their stems for a release online. You can download them and you can remix them. I've been doing a bit more remixing lately, and I'm always looking for ways to practice. So I remixed. I remixed the Foals single "Wash Off," and so this is that. Okay. So, we're going to have to speak, and then when you press play, I'm going to have to turn the mic down, because otherwise it'll interfere.
So I'm going to play the mix first, and I'm just going to, I don't really know how to work this computer, but I'm going to try and drop in about halfway through in the mix, and then I'll play the master, and then I'll try and drop in halfway through the master.
Okay.
I'll aim for the same place.
Okay.
But I don't know how to use this computer, so
Great.
it might not be.
All right, let's give it a go.
Where does it open?
I think you just double click.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. That was the unmastered version.
And then this is the master version. It's going to be a lot louder. 5-minute job this afternoon. Disclaimer.
Now you're just bragging.
I wanted to use all of the analog on this, so it's a little bit heavy-handed, but you get the impression.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that was like, I don't know, a fun master.
As opposed to a not fun master.
I would spend a lot more time on something if it was gonna, you know, be your final version.
Yeah, make it to the public marketplace, as it were. Yes.
But yeah, so I used every single bit of analog.
Really?
I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, basically. Just to see, because I've never done that before. So this was just a test for me as well.
Yeah.
Just some practice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think because obviously when you're making music, you hear it to death. Like you hear it and then you hear it and then you hear it some more before it necessarily either hits a mixing engineer or a mastering engineer. But I think what's interesting about that is even though I was situated kind of in a strange place in between the two speakers, for me that felt like a much crisper. I felt like I could hear more detail, which is lovely. I felt like the middle wasn't quite, in terms of the middle frequencies, they weren't quite as dominant, which was lovely, but also it felt wider. So yeah, so just as someone who has listened to it to death, those were the things that popped out for me, which is quite interesting. Awesome.
I didn't make you any formats because...
No, it's okay. It was okay. It was an experiment. It's all good.
I'm joking.
Did she say
yes. So that's a before and after of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then... Oh my god. It's
I think I know where it is.
You know where it is?
I think so. There it is.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
So then this is one of your singles.
Yes, this has actually made it to the public marketplace.
This is out there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play it from the beginning because I don't know how to jump in. I'm so sorry.
All right.
Ready?
Yes.
Steady.
This half the moon fills half the room, but it's half too soon to tell if I need you yet. Getting needs met was never an issue. Know everything but you tastes wrong on my tongue. Can you meet me halfway? Can you meet me halfway? Can you meet me halfway? The first time I tipped your face to mine, you took my breath away. So it's possible if illogical. Am I a fool to scheme to draw you near to me? So many people, so hard to read. Oh, but you are not though. It's such a relief, but I don't know what it means. Can you meet me halfway? Can you meet me halfway?
Okay, so that was the mix. Again, disclaimer, the master's going to be a bit louder.
Okay.
This half the moon fills half the room, but it's half too soon to tell if I need you yet. Getting needs met was never an issue. Know everything but you tastes wrong on my tongue. Can you meet me halfway? tipped your face to mine. You took my breath away. So it's possible, if illogical. Am I a fool to scheme to draw you near to me? So many people, so hard to read. Oh, but you are not, though. It's such a relief, but I don't know what it means. Can you meet me halfway? Can you meet me halfway? The first time I tipped your face to mine, you took my breath away.
Oh, sorry. It's weird listening to that back.
For both of us.
It was 2019.
2019 release, but you mastered it in 2018, right? Because there was a big
Maybe.
break in
There was a
between.
really big break.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, well, I was in a different studio, which I didn't know as well. But at the time, I really wanted to bring out like the mouth noise, like the
mouth
top,
noise.
the top end of your like. Do you know what I mean?
Articulation.
Like, articulation.
Yes.
That's it.
I just wanted to hear her make noises again.
Like I really wanted to bring that out, but whereas now listening to it, I'm like, ooh, it's a bit bright, isn't it? But I don't know these monitors.
No, but I think it's good. Like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think it's a good balance because, like, I mean, the way that you've the kind of the dynamic shift of when the bass kicks in for the second chorus as well is like it's basically the apex of the track, and I think that's something that felt far more impactful post processing. So yeah, so I was happy with that. Okay, brilliant. We've had a couple of questions actually, so I'm just going to ask you one or two more.
It feels really weird that people are watching.
Oh no, they're nice though.
Okay.
Look at their lovely faces.
No, I mean like in the computer.
Oh, in the computer.
Yes.
I mean, you can't look at their lovely faces,
Everyone
but
here
I'm
is
sure
lovely.
their faces are lovely as well. Okay, amazing. So, just two more questions. If someone wanted to get started in mastering engineering, where would you advise them to begin now? Because I'm conscious that like your journey began at a time when the music industry looked completely different in many ways. Like it was starting to shift into streaming, and some of the structures have remained, but some of them have shifted. So where would you advise someone who was interested in mastering to begin now?
That's a really good question. I would say make friends with people who make music and ask if you can practice on their music. Like just practice. No pressure, just have fun and practice and really listen and think about why you're doing stuff. And don't take it too seriously. Like there's, you know, it basically took me 7 years to like, you know, go full time in mastering, and at the time I was kind of a little bit frustrated by that. There was a few times where I was like, oh, maybe I should just give up or something. But looking back, that being such a long journey, and you know, none of that journey was kind of because I had another job as well. There was never any pressure to kind of make a living from mastering straight away. It was always like, this is just exciting and fun and new. It was never, oh my god, I've come home from my 9 to 5 and now I've got 7 albums to master. I'm stressed. And I also don't really know what I'm doing. Like the bits where I didn't know what I was doing, there was no pressure because it was, you know, if you just think of it as learning and practice and fun, it's weird because no one really talks about like the just enjoying it side of things. And I think that's really important. Like people often say like, oh, do you have a go-to mastering chain? No, I don't, because
do you have a what?
A go-to mastering chain for the audio processing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As soon as
So
I
this is when you
have a go-to,
like a set number of plugins and processes that you would put on any track. Okay.
People ask sort of what is your mastering chain, and I don't have one because then it's not going to be fun anymore. I like seeing what each piece of music is really individual. So I just say enjoy it and practice and have a nice time, and then just
have a nice
time, and then just slowly build it up. And but yeah, like get involved in your local music scene or something, and just make some friends and practice.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. So last question. In the realm of joy in your work, can you name some of your most enjoyable professional experiences so far?
No.
I
don't know. Honestly, I enjoy everything.
I sent you these questions beforehand, Katie.
I know.
Come on.
And that's the one where I was like, I don't have an answer for that, because you know what? Sometimes when I get to work with a band who I listened to when I was in college.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't prefer that to working on new music. I get just as excited by working on any music, and the fact that people trust me to be a part of their project is awesome. But yeah, working with real scientists was a bit of a nuts one, because I had pictures of them on my wall. And Ash as well, that was crazy.
Yeah.
So there is bits of it that's whoa, that's nuts, but I don't know. I've only been full time since 2020, so it's still really new to me. Still learning, and
every day
it all feels cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions from the stream, but before I offer those, does anyone in the room have a burning question? You're gonna have to get unshy now.
It can be about cats.
I mean, we've only covered one cat so far, but I mean, why not? Does anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts, or otherwise I'll go to the stream questions. Stream questions it is. So, okay. So we have question from Kate. Hi, Kate.
Good name.
Royalties won't be picked up if you use the streaming service generated ICRC that isn't obviously embedded into the WAV. Is that correct?
So if you get your ISRCs from PPL, you need to input them when you upload your music to, let's say, CD Baby. And you'll have a different code for each song, and you'll input it when you upload your songs to CD Baby. If you get CD Baby to allocate your ISRCs, and that CD Baby will sort of automatically generate some, and then you hit submit and your music goes out onto the internet, that's fine, but you need to tell PPL and PRS what the codes are.
Yes.
For your songs.
Yes, these are collection services.
Yes.
Yes. Cool, amazing, thank you. So a question from Layla. Do you master in a residential building, or have you got a designated studio? If the former, so if you're a residential building, what dB levels are you mastering at? And what have you done in terms of sound treatment?
So this is the spare room in my flat. I've had 2 studios in studio complexes, the problem with Brighton is there's not many complexes of studios where you can just go and hire a production room for a year or two. I was really lucky to get my former room, but unfortunately it started leaking, and so I had to move out, and I couldn't find another room. Fortunately, that room is pretty, like, it sounds pretty good anyway, just because, well, I mean, it doesn't look like that anymore even.
It's all moved now, hasn't it? You've rotated everything to 90 degrees.
It's a constant evolution.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm always trying to make it sound better. Is the main thing. I don't have a level that I master at. What I have done is created a fake limiter in there, which you know about because it does your head in every time you come over. So I work quite quietly, and basically I do everything at the same level, so that I know how things sound in relation to each other. And so I know what my studio sounds like when I have everything at that level. And you know, like 2 years ago or something, I was like that on the volume control. And I thought, like, oh, let's check this at different volumes and stuff. And I do still check at different volumes, but I was like really, like, every 5 minutes changing the volume. And then it occurred to me that I didn't know where I was. I was like lost in the road.
Not in the literal road.
Not in the literal road, but that has happened today. So I just have the master out of my equipment, or not my speakers, my monitoring system, always the same.
Yeah.
And it's quite quiet.
It is, yeah.
It doesn't annoy the neighbours. It's quite an old building. The walls are thick. I can't hear them. They can't hear me. No one's made a complaint.
So it's partly to do with the structure of the building itself, but also partly to do with the fact that you master quite low. Like, I had never been into a studio where I was listening back to levels that were as low as yours ever. Like, anytime I'd ever sat in somebody's studio, the temptation is always to crank up and to mix louder. But actually, it was very interesting because Katie and I have done a number of mixing sessions together, and Katie has taught me how to do this, and the fact is, you can hear certain things when the level is low that you would miss if it was cranked up. So yeah, it annoys me, but but it's actually been quite useful.
And I basically do this 9 to 5.
Yes.
So, you know, 9 to 5 of really loud music.
Oh god. Good point.
I'm going to be knackered.
Yeah, it is exhausting. It takes energy to focus for that long on something that's that loud, for sure. Okay, so Marta has asked, hi Marta, what's a thing about mastering process that you highly recommend to know, starting from the beginning, as if it was the beginning of your career, or that maybe you wanted to know when you started?
Find one limiter. Doesn't matter which one it is. It can be a stock limiter or it can be a fancy one. It doesn't matter. But learn how to use it really well and learn how it sounds in different situations and on different, like, genres of music and stuff. And just use that until you've nailed it.
Okay.
And you know exactly how it is, because something that I see a lot when I talk to people is they've got every single plugin, but then they're just putting plugins on and trying a preset and going, oh, it doesn't sound right, and then moving on to the next plugin. Whereas actually you can make any plugin sound. You just have to sort of, I don't know, it's like playing an instrument or something. You've just got to put the hours in, put the practice in, learning it. But it's a lot more simple if you just pick one, learn that, and then move on to the next, rather than sort of opening up Pro Tools or whatever and being faced with 60 limiters.
Pandora's box of limiters.
I don't know which one, and trying them all. You're going to be there all day. So just pick one and stick with it. But I think knowing how to use a limiter well is probably gonna serve you the best at the start.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, another question from Kate. I'm going to try and simplify it because it's quite long. So Casey's asking about the loudness of a mix before it reaches a mastering engineer, and how you approach that, and what loudness levels you request from mixes.
I don't really request any loudness levels as long as it's not clipping. That's a biggie. And as long as, see, you could say, oh, my mix is at -6 dB, and it might be, but it might have a limiter that's just squashing everything and keeping it at -6 dB. So I would say, keep your compressor on your master bus. That's nice. That adds to the texture of the music. But just make sure that, and you know, even if you do have a limiter on your master bus, just make sure that it's not killing everything. Otherwise, everything's like, I don't know, one of the sort of feelings I get when I hear something that's sort of overly compressed is it makes me feel like I'm underwater. Makes me feel a bit like seasick and weird. So yeah, that's never going to be nice, really.
Yeah.
But just sort of any level as long as it's not clipping and dynamic.
Okay, great. Hope that helps. Jane has asked, how do you know when your ears are tired? I feel like when you start to feel sleepy, but maybe there's a better way of telling.
I don't know. I have quite frequent breaks. I've got quite a short attention span. And I like tea as well. So, you know, if you have so many tea breaks, then you're going to be fine, I think.
Okay.
And also, because I don't work at crazy loud levels, it's...
The fatigue doesn't affect you as much. Yeah.
Whereas when I was sort of like on the volume knob all of the time and sort of, I don't know, not knowing where I was, I'd get tired quicker because I didn't know where I was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I usually like I don't let myself mix anything after 10 because after 10 my judgment is just shot to hell. It's no good to me. Anything I make after 10 p.m. it's not good.
I would say that's a really like big thing of it. No one tells you when you are like, oh, okay, I want to work in music. That sometimes you might have to work after 10, but it's generally not a good idea. So I'm naturally a little bit of a night owl, but I've had to really force myself to have like same working hours every day, just so that I don't get tired, make sure I have enough sleep, make sure I do my loads of exercise. Oh my god, I did so much exercise yesterday, I can't walk properly today.
Good for you.
Loads of water, like just looking after yourself, because it's like your ears are part of your body. When your body's like knackered and run down, your ears are going to be as well.
That's a
no
good
one
rule
talks
of
about
thumb.
that. Look after yourself.
Okay, so I think it's Kitchu Grace asked, is it always better to send off mixes as an album or individually? So if she has an EP coming of 4 songs, for consistency, for cohesion, I guess, is it better to send all the mixes as a whole project?
That's a good question. Sometimes, well, it's really common where the first single will get mastered first before an album, because it needs to go off and have like a music video made and all of the press around it, and get shown to radio pluggers or whatever. So it's really common that, you know, one song will get mastered first, which is going to be the first single, and then some people split it up and get things mastered sort of, you know, in chunks, so maybe 3 songs and then another 3 and then another 3 to finish off the album. I think as long as you communicate that that's what you're doing with your mastering engineer, rather than saying, oh, here's 3 singles, Like make sure that you explain that they will be part of an album, and then
Right.
the mastering engineer can sort of like bear that in mind and make sure that they all sound good together.
Yeah.
It's like the structure of an album's so important, you know, if you and you know, sometimes it's common where that happens and people get stuff mastered in little chunks, but then I'll go back and, you know, maybe tweak the first few songs just to make everything fit nicely.
Okay, cool. So, thus ends the stream questions that I have. Yay! But any last questions from the room? Does anyone have anything they wish? Oh, yeah.
Can you just explain a little bit the difference between like the loudness levels and the perceived loudness of a music, that, you know, how we kind of can work more with that rather than looking at sort of, you know, the numbers and the plugins.
Do you mean like to maybe get something as loud as possible with that?
Yeah, like maybe frequency distribution or how the arrangement of the song might help to actually be as loud as things we hear, like in commercial releases versus what we think we're making, you know, in the studio, with the compression and all the limiters we can get.
First thing I'd say is go and look up crest factor, because that's really important in a mix to determine how loud the master can be. I'm not really going to go into it because it's quite a big topic, but it's really interesting how that can affect like the final level. But then there's also things such as obviously bass takes up more space, higher frequencies. So for example, if you have a sine wave that's like 100 hertz, and then if you have a sine wave that's 1k, if you play them at the same volume, you're going to perceive the one that's at 1k to be louder because of the way your ear works. And so any higher frequencies can like really grab attention. But then, you know, things like mids can be really, really useful to make a mix or a master feel really full. And you can sort of, I don't know, that's something I like to do if I want to kind of try and squeeze a little bit of loudness out of something and it's not a super bright mix. And also look at distortion as well, because little bits of distortion, you know, they're just going to add harmonics and sort of that's a really like easy trick if you want something just to seem like a tiny bit louder. And then there's tools like, you know, if you really, really want something very loud, don't just use one limiter, use a few, in like, you know, one after the other. If you do that, make sure that you gain stage quite well, because obviously they all interact differently and will sound different. And then you can get clippers as well, which are useful for sort of getting an extra dB or two of volume. There's a plugin called Limitless by DMG Audio, which has a
Puns.
what?
Puns.
Yeah.
Love that.
So it's a limiter
Yeah.
and a clipper. It's got both.
What?
I know. But that, you know, stuff like that's really useful for just getting that little bit extra. But and like the arrangement can really help. So if you've got a quiet section and then you've got a really loud section, we talk about this all the time.
We do.
The quiet sections make the loud sections sound louder. So you can use that to your advantage if you know, if you're a composer or a producer, for sort of like contrast in impact.
Cool.
Descriptive words.
Yes.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Cool. Any more in the room? Yep.
Actually, about what you said on utilizing the different parts of the song towards your favor, I was wondering, when a song is really dynamic, mastering wise, would you approach it still as a whole, would you automate things to happen throughout so the louder parts do not get crazy louder and destroy the whole balance?
To be honest, I only use automation if it's really, really necessary. And by really, really necessary, I mean like life or death situation. Oh, not life or death, but like...
It's so dramatic.
I know. But yeah, I only use automation if it's a very dramatic situation. And that's because I don't really like to change the mix too much. And so, yeah, I really like dynamics in music. I think they're fun and they sound nice and they keep people interested in the actual piece of music. And so I wouldn't really go in and sort of automate any of those out. Occasionally I would maybe like automate a little bit of EQ if it's sort of a corrective thing that, you know, maybe the chorus has something that's ringing in it, but it's not in the verses, and then when that EQ is on in the verses, it's sort of, you know, taking away something that's nice. Yeah. I don't know if that helped.
Great.
Cool. All right. We have had a couple more questions from the stream, and then I think we'll call it a day. But we've had questions about, do you have any literature or best books that you've read on mastering?
Not very good at reading.
I did wonder. Yeah, honestly, I didn't want to out you as like doesn't read a ton, but yeah.
Like Bob Katz's book is massive, and it's useful. It's not. It's more of a when you're stuck, go and look rather than absorb the whole thing.
Okay.
Because it's a lot to take in.
Cool.
But it's good to have.
Do you know what it's called?
Bob Katz's mastering book.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I think it's called The Art and Science of Mastering.
Cool.
By Bob Katz. But honestly, like I feel like talking to other mastering engineers is a really, really good way to learn. There's loads of mastering groups on Facebook. So you can ask questions. Yeah, I think just like conversations with people.
Cool. Okay. And then the last question is, it's basically a headphones versus speakers/monitors question. In terms of, yeah, I know, I'm surprised it hasn't come up already. Do you think it's better to work with headphones or monitors in order to obtain a balanced result? And that's from Marta again.
I think it depends what you like. It depends what you know. It depends on your circumstance. Like, so for example, when I first started working in there, because I didn't really know the room and we treated it as best we could, but you know, it still wasn't amazing. I would check everything on headphones that I've had for years and years and years, just to make sure. Whereas now the room's a lot better treated. I'm in there every single day, so I know exactly what the room sounds like.
So the space is really important.
It's really important. I've had my monitoring since 2018, so it's quite a while now. I know exactly what my monitors sound like. So yeah, it's just knowing what you've got. It's not one's better than the other. It's just it's learning what you've got rather than being like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, go and buy these headphones because they look fancy. And then sort of like not really knowing what you're listening, going, oh yeah, they cost like £100 or whatever, so they must be good. And then sort of not really knowing them. Like, listen to lots of music that you know how it sounds on what you're going to be listening to, like albums from your, you know, childhood or whatever, stuff that you've heard. Go and buy Rumours and stick it on every day or something. Like,
a little bit of flavour. Yeah.
Like, learn what you're listening on and learn your space with something that's familiar.
I think that's a great place to end it, to be honest. So thank you, Katie. Okay, cool. So we're going to round off this session and the stream. Thank you so much to Katie for being here.
You're welcome.
Trucking from Brighton. And for you folks who are in the room and you folks who are on the stream, we're very, very excited that all of you managed to make it. We do have 2 more sessions in this mini-series. We have one tomorrow with LNA does audio stuff, also known as Lena Tortunen. I presume I said that right. I'm so sorry, Lena, if I did not. But Lena is a prolific YouTuber and specializes in production, and we will have her here to basically do a session on production and songwriting workflows. She'll be working in Ableton, but you don't have to work in Ableton. You don't even have to necessarily be super familiar with DAWs. It's basically to do with breaking down creative blocks and basically finding new approaches for your workflow. So do tune in or pick. There's still time to book a free spot for the IRL session, and then on Thursday. So much going on. On Thursday, we will be at University Arts London's Creative Computing Institute, where we will be working with basically watching Vicky O'Neon, who is an amazing session drummer and technologist, who will be working with basically performance techniques for drumming and tech. And again, if you're not a drummer but you just have an interest in programming, interest in percussion, and would like to potentially kind of look at different ways to do that in performance, it's going to be an amazing session. Both of those are available on musichackspace.org, which is where you can book your in real life free spot, or you can pick up the link for the live stream. And happy International Women's Day to all and sundry. And thanks so much for joining us. So this has been the We Move sessions for Music Hackspace, and we'll see you at the next one. And one last thing, Discord. Yeah. And if you like to Discord, if that is your thing, we have a Discord. We'll be dropping the link into the YouTube chat right now. Yep. JV's thumbs up, that's definitely happening. So if you would like to join us there, we have a special channel for We Move if you want to discuss what you've watched today, or to ask any questions that you just forgot to ask on the stream, and also to pick up a few resources from our session leaders as well. Then head on over there and we'll see you there. Okay, now we're done. Awesome. Well done. Have some water.